Ever heard of a Saturday morning show where the villain literally acknowledged he was stuck in an endless loop of failure? Dr. Shrinker was that bizarre 1976 gem, featuring a disgraced Hollywood star's comeback, the Osmonds singing the theme, and a future WKRP icon in a surprising guest role. Buckle up for some seriously strange TV history. Fact 1. The show lasted only 16 episodes. Dr. Shrinker had one of the shortest runs in Saturday morning television history, airing for just 16 episodes between September and December of 1976. What made the show even more unusual was that each episode was only 15 minutes long, which was extremely brief even by the standards of children's programming at the time. Most Saturday morning shows ran for at least 30 minutes per episode, but Dr. Shrinker was part of the Krofft Super Show, an anthology series that featured multiple rotating segments within a single hour-long block. This format meant that Dr. Shrinker had to share airtime with other Krofft productions like Wonderbug and Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. The show aired as part of ABC's Saturday morning lineup, but despite being produced by the legendary Sid and Marty Krofft duo, who had created hits like H.R. Poofenstoof and Land of the Lost, Dr. Shrinker simply couldn't capture enough audience attention to warrant a full second season. By the time December rolled around, the show was done, making it one of the shortest-lived productions in the Krofft brothers' entire catalog. The brief runtime and quick cancellation meant that the entire series clocked in at just 4 hours of total content, leaving many story threads completely unresolved, and fans wondering what could have been if the show had been given more time to develop. Fact 2. The villain was self-aware about repetition. In one of the most bizarre moments of self-awareness in Saturday morning television history, Dr. Shrinker himself acknowledged the repetitive nature of his own show. During one episode, the villainous doctor openly complained about the predictable pattern that defined every single installment of the series. He lamented that he would chase the Shrinkies, catch the Shrinkies, and then watch helplessly as the Shrinkies escaped, describing it as a vicious cycle that was driving him mad. This moment of fourth-wall breaking frustration was remarkably unusual for a children's show in the 1970s, an era when most programs played their formulaic plots completely straight, without any hint of irony or self-reference. The writers seemed to be winking at older viewers who had undoubtedly noticed that every episode followed the exact same structure with almost no variation whatsoever. Dr. Shrinker would devise some elaborate scheme to capture the 3 teenagers who had been shrunk to 6 inches tall. He would succeed in catching them through some clever trap, and then, through a combination of luck and ingenuity, the tiny heroes would manage to escape back to their hideout before the closing credits rolled. By having the villain openly acknowledge this repetitive formula, the show was essentially admitting that it had painted itself into a creative corner, unable to break free from the episodic structure that defined Saturday morning programming of that era. Fact 3. The Osmonds wrote and performed the theme. The catchy theme song that opened every episode of Dr. Shrinker wasn't composed by anonymous studio musicians, but by one of the biggest family music acts of the 1970s. The Osmond family, famous for hits like One Bad Apple and Crazy Horses, wrote and performed the Dr. Shrinker theme song, which featured the memorable lyrics describing the villain as a madman with an evil mind. This wasn't the Osmonds' only contribution to the Krofft television universe either, as they also provided music for other shows produced by Sid and Marty Krofft during the same era. The Osmonds had a close working relationship with the Krofft brothers, which made sense given that both were major forces in family entertainment during the mid-70s. The theme song itself was designed to be instantly memorable and kid-friendly, with an upbeat tempo and simple lyrics that explained the show's premise in just a few seconds. It warned viewers that Dr. Shrinker was coming and that the Shrinkies were trying to survive on his mysterious island, setting up the conflict in a way that even the youngest viewers could immediately understand. The Osmonds' involvement gave the show a level of musical credibility and catchiness that many other Saturday morning cartoons and live-action shows simply couldn't match, even if the show itself didn't last more than a few months on the air. Fact 4. J. Robinson's remarkable comeback story. The actor who played the title villain had one of Hollywood's most dramatic fall and rise stories before landing the role of Dr. Shrinker. J. Robinson had achieved early success in the 1950s playing the Mad Emperor Caligula in both The Robe and Demetrius and the Gladiators, delivering performances that showcased his talent for portraying unhinged, theatrical villains. However, his promising career came to a crashing halt in 1958 when he was arrested for narcotics possession, a scandal that resulted in a 15-month prison sentence and effectively destroyed his reputation in the entertainment industry. After his release, Robinson found himself completely blacklisted from Hollywood and spent nearly a decade working odd jobs just to survive, including stints as a cook and a landlord. For 10 years, he was essentially persona non grata in the film and television world, unable to get even small roles despite his obvious talent and previous success. The road back was long and difficult, requiring Robinson to completely rebuild his life and prove to the industry that he had changed. By the time Dr. Shrinker came along in 1976, Robinson had been slowly rebuilding his career through small character roles and had developed a reputation for being reliable and professional. Landing the lead role in a Krofft production was a significant milestone in his comeback, giving him steady work and exposing him to a new generation of viewers who had no idea about his troubled past. Fact 5. Bette Davis helped Robinson get back. One of the most touching aspects of J. Robinson's comeback story involved the intervention of Hollywood legend Bette Davis, who played a crucial role in helping the disgraced actor get his career back on track. After Robinson's drug conviction sent him to prison and destroyed his career, Davis reached out to him with encouraging letters while he was incarcerated, offering support during his darkest period when most of Hollywood had turned its back on him completely. Davis had worked with Robinson early in his career and recognized his talent, refusing to abandon him despite the scandal that had made him radioactive in the industry. Her support didn't end with letters either, as Davis actively used her considerable influence to help Robinson land his first film role in 13 years when she helped secure him a part in the 1971 comedy Bunny O'Hare, which starred Davis herself. This gesture was remarkable not just because of Davis's stature in Hollywood, but because she was willing to risk her own reputation by vouching for someone who had been essentially exiled from the entertainment business. Davis's willingness to give Robinson a second chance opened doors that had been firmly closed, helping him slowly rebuild the career that had been destroyed by his own mistakes. By the time Dr. Shrinker came around 5 years later, Robinson had proven himself reliable and professional enough to be trusted with a lead role, and he never forgot that it was Bette Davis who had given him that crucial first opportunity to prove he deserved another shot. Fact 6. Inspired by a 1940 Technicolor classic, the basic concept of Dr. Shrinker, featuring a mad scientist who shrinks human beings on a remote island, appears to have been directly inspired by a groundbreaking horror film from the early days of color cinema. Dr. Cyclops, released in 1940, was the first full-length horror film shot entirely in Technicolor and told the story of a deranged scientist working in a South American jungle who develops a ray that shrinks people down to tiny size. The parallels between Dr. Cyclops and Dr. Shrinker are impossible to ignore, from the isolated jungle setting to the mad scientist protagonist to the central shrinking technology that drives the plot. Both properties also featured the shrunken victims trying to survive in a world where everyday objects became enormous obstacles and dangers. The Krofft brothers were known for drawing inspiration from various sources in classic cinema and science fiction, often taking familiar concepts and adapting them for the Saturday morning television format with colorful costumes and campy performances. While Dr. Cyclops was a serious horror film with dark themes and impressive special effects for its era, Dr. Shrinker transformed those same basic ideas into something comedic and appropriate for children, replacing genuine terror with slapstick humor and cartoonish villainy. The 1940 film had been largely forgotten by the time Dr. Shrinker premiered, so most young viewers had no idea they were watching a kid-friendly reworking of a 36-year-old movie that had once scared audiences with its then revolutionary color cinematography and disturbing premise. Fact 7. Billy Barty founded Little People of America. The actor who played Hugo, Dr. Shrinker's loyal assistant, was far more than just a character actor in children's television. Billy Barty, who stood 3 feet 9 inches tall due to cartilage hair hypoplasia, was a pioneering activist who founded Little People of America in 1957, creating an organization that would become the world's largest support group for people with dwarfism. Barty recognized that people of short stature faced unique challenges in society and needed a community where they could connect, share experiences, and advocate for their rights and dignity. What started as a small gathering of just 21 members in Reno, Nevada, grew under Barty's leadership into an international organization with more than 6,800 members by the 2000s. Little People of America provided resources, medical information, scholarship opportunities, and social connections for people with dwarfism and their families, fundamentally changing how the community organized and advocated for itself. Barty used his visibility as an actor to raise awareness about issues facing people of short stature, fighting against stereotypical portrayals while also maintaining a successful career in entertainment. He appeared in dozens of films and television shows throughout his life, but he always made it clear that his activism and advocacy work were just as important as his acting career. By the time he appeared in Dr. Shrinker, Barty had already been a prominent voice in the disability rights movement for nearly 2 decades, using his platform to educate the public and support others in his community. Fact 8. Barty played 3 Krofft characters. Billy Barty's role as Hugo in Dr. Shrinker was actually his 3rd character in a Sid and Marty Krofft production, making him one of the brothers' most frequently used performers. Before playing Dr. Shrinker's assistant, Barty had appeared in 2 other Krofft shows wearing elaborate full-body costumes that completely concealed his identity. From 1970 to 1972, he played Sparky the Firefly in The Bugaloos, a psychedelic Saturday morning show about 4 teenagers who lived in a magical forest and could fly. Sparky was a glowing insect character who served as comic relief and friend to the main characters, requiring Barty to perform entirely inside a costume that made it impossible for viewers to recognize him. Just a few years later, from 1974 to 1976, Barty took on another costumed role as Sigmund in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, playing a friendly sea monster who befriended 2 human brothers. Once again, Barty was completely hidden inside the monster costume, with only his physical performance and voice work revealing his involvement. Dr. Shrinker was different because it finally allowed Barty to appear on screen as himself without any costume or prosthetics hiding his face, giving him the opportunity to actually be recognized by audiences. The Krofft brothers clearly valued Barty's talent and professionalism, bringing him back repeatedly across their various productions and trusting him with increasingly visible roles as their working relationship developed over the years. Fact 9. Future WKRP star made a guest appearance. One of Dr. Shrinker's guest stars would go on to become one of the most beloved sitcom characters of the late 1970s, though viewers in 1976 had no way of knowing it at the time. Gordon Jump appeared in 2 episodes of Dr. Shrinker playing a secret agent, taking on a relatively serious role that was far removed from the bumbling, well-meaning character he would soon become famous for portraying. Just 2 years after his appearance on Dr. Shrinker, Jump was cast as Arthur Carlson, the incompetent but lovable station manager on WKRP in Cincinnati, which premiered in 1978 and ran for 4 seasons. Carlson became one of the most memorable characters in sitcom history, with Jump's portrayal of the fish-out-of-water boss who inherited his job from his mother, earning him widespread recognition and affection from audiences. The contrast between his serious secret agent character on Dr. Shrinker and his comedic role on WKRP showcased Jump's versatility as an actor, though he would primarily be remembered for his work in comedy. Jump continued acting for decades after WKRP ended, appearing in numerous television shows and commercials, but he never quite escaped the shadow of Arthur Carlson. Looking back at his Dr. Shrinker episodes, it's fascinating to see Jump in such a different context, playing a competent professional rather than the lovable buffoon who would define his career just a few years later. Fact 10. Clint Howard played a wild boy. The younger brother of legendary director Ron Howard made a memorable guest appearance on Dr. Shrinker in an episode appropriately titled Wild Boy. Clint Howard, who by 1976 had already established himself as a child actor in his own right, guest starred as a feral island child who had been living in the wilderness and encounters the shrunken teenagers during their ongoing attempts to avoid Dr. Shrinker's capture. Howard was no stranger to science fiction and fantasy television by this point, having appeared in multiple episodes of Star Trek as a child and built a career playing quirky, unusual characters. The role of the wild boy allowed Howard to showcase his ability to play strange, outsider characters, a talent he would continue to develop throughout his acting career. Unlike his brother Ron, who transitioned from child star to serious director, Clint Howard remained a working character actor for decades, appearing in dozens of films and television shows, often in memorable supporting roles. His appearance on Dr. Shrinker was just one of many genre shows he worked on during the 1970s, a decade when he was constantly in demand for children's programming and fantasy series. Howard brought an intensity and commitment to even small roles like this one, making the wild boy character believable, despite the absurdity of the show's premise and the limited time available in a 15-minute episode to develop any guest character beyond the most basic level. Fact 11. The show was filmed in Los Angeles. Despite its tropical island setting complete with lush jungles, mysterious caves, and exotic locations, Dr. Shrinker never left the greater Los Angeles area during production. The entire series was shot on sound stages and limited outdoor locations in LA, using clever set design and careful camera work to create the illusion of a remote island somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. This approach was standard practice for Saturday morning television in the 1970s, when budgets were tight and producers needed to maximize efficiency by keeping everything close to the studio facilities. The Krofft brothers were masters at creating fantastical environments on limited budgets, and Dr. Shrinker was no exception to their resourceful production methods. Sets were dressed with tropical plants and fake rocks to simulate jungle terrain, while outdoor scenes were filmed at local parks and undeveloped areas around Los Angeles that could pass for wilderness with the right camera angles. The show's small size also worked in its favor, as the tight framing required to show the shrunken protagonists interacting with oversized props meant that the backgrounds didn't need to be particularly elaborate or convincing. As long as the immediate area around the actors looked appropriately tropical, viewers' attention would be focused on the characters rather than questioning whether they were really on an island. This cost-saving measure allowed the production to stretch its budget further, putting resources into the shrinking effects and props rather than expensive location shooting that would have required transporting cast and crew to an actual tropical location. Fact 12. The Krofft Super Show was filmed in Atlanta, while the Dr. Shrinker segments themselves were produced in Los Angeles. The host segments that tied together the Krofft Super Show were filmed in an entirely different location across the country. The wraparound segments featuring Captain Cool and the Kongs, a fictional rock band that introduced each episode's various segments, were taped at the World of Sid and Marty Krofft Indoor Amusement Park in Atlanta's Omni Center. This theme park was an ambitious but ultimately short-lived venture by the Krofft brothers, who hoped to translate their television success into a physical entertainment space where families could experience their colorful, psychedelic aesthetic in person. The park opened in 1976, the same year Dr. Shrinker premiered, and was designed to be a multi-level indoor attraction featuring rides and exhibits based on Krofft properties. However, the park struggled with operational problems from the beginning and closed after just 6 months, making it one of the shortest-lived theme parks in American history. During its brief existence, the park doubled as a production facility for the Krofft Super Show's host segments, giving the brothers an opportunity to promote their struggling attraction on national television every Saturday morning. The split production between Los Angeles and Atlanta created logistical challenges, but allowed the Kroffts to maximize their use of the Atlanta facility before it closed permanently in 1976, taking with it their dreams of becoming theme park operators in addition to television producers. Fact 13. Dr. Shrinker became Dr. Deathray in Season 2. When the characters from Dr. Shrinker made a brief return for the Lost Island segment of the Krofft Superstar Hour in 1977 to 1978, something very strange happened to the show's villain. For reasons that were never explained to audiences, Dr. Shrinker was suddenly renamed Dr. Deathray, despite being played by the same actor and having the same assistant and the same basic goal of capturing the shrunken teenagers. The name change made no sense from a storytelling perspective, as the villain's shrinking ray technology remained his primary weapon and defining characteristic, making Dr. Shrinker a far more logical name than Dr. Deathray. No explanation was offered within the show itself for why this mad scientist had decided to rebrand himself, and none of the characters acknowledged that anything had changed at all. This bizarre decision may have been related to legal or trademark issues, or perhaps the Krofft brothers simply wanted to distance the revival from the original series that had failed to find an audience. Whatever the reason, the name change added to the general confusion surrounding the characters' brief return to Saturday morning television. The Lost Island segment itself didn't last long, running for only a single season before being canceled, along with the rest of the Krofft Superstar Hour. This meant that Dr. Shrinker, or Dr. Deathray, or whatever his name was supposed to be, disappeared from television screens once again, this time for good, leaving behind a legacy of confusion about his true identity. Fact 14. The series never had a real ending. After 16 episodes and 4 months on the air, Dr. Shrinker simply stopped broadcasting without providing any resolution to its central premise or storylines. The show concluded with the 3 teenage protagonists still trapped at 6 inches tall, still stranded on the mysterious island, and still no closer to reversing the shrinking process or escaping Dr. Shrinker's clutches than they had been in the very first episode. No finale episode was produced to wrap up the series, no explanation was given to viewers about what happened to the characters, and no attempt was made to provide closure of any kind. This was frustratingly common for Saturday morning shows in the 1970s, when children's programming was considered disposable entertainment that didn't require proper endings or narrative payoffs. Shows would simply disappear from the schedule when their ratings dropped, or when network executives decided to try something new, leaving storylines permanently unresolved and characters frozen in time at whatever point the cancellation occurred. For fans of Dr. Shrinker, this meant that Brad, BJ, and Gordy remained trapped as Shrinkies forever, stuck in an endless loop of capture and escape, with no hope of ever returning to normal size or finding their way back to civilization. The brief revival in the Lost Island segment didn't provide any closure either, as it featured the same basic premise with no progression toward a resolution. The lack of an ending meant that Dr. Shrinker remains one of television's great unfinished stories, a series that posed an interesting question but never bothered to answer it. Fact 15. Only one episode exists on DVD. Despite the growing interest in classic Krofft productions and the nostalgia market for 1970s Saturday morning television, Dr. Shrinker has remained frustratingly difficult to access for modern viewers. In 2005, Marty Krofft made public statements suggesting that a complete DVD release of Dr. Shrinker was in the works, complete with commentary tracks and bonus features that would give fans insight into the show's production. However, those plans never materialized, and only a single episode from the entire 16-episode run has ever been officially released on DVD. That episode, titled Slowly I Turn, was included as part of a larger Krofft box set compilation that featured selected episodes from various Sid and Marty Krofft productions. The decision to include only one episode rather than the complete series was never adequately explained, leaving collectors and fans wondering why the remaining 15 episodes have been kept in the vault. It's possible that the masters for the other episodes are in poor condition or that legal issues prevented a full release, but without official statements from the rights holders, the reasons remain unclear. This limited availability has made Dr. Shrinker one of the more obscure entries in the Krofft catalog, with entire generations of viewers knowing about the show only through online descriptions and the occasional clip, rather than being able to watch it themselves. The single-episode release serves more as a frustrating tease than a satisfying way to experience the series, leaving those interested in exploring this weird piece of television history with very few legitimate options for doing so.